What's up? We're Suicide Silence, and you're watching BareBonesMusic.com.
Barebones feature artist.
One of the craziest things about it is when The Cleansing came out, from the day it came out to that whole first week, we were on tour. And so we had road scans included and like tour scans included. This time we were at home the month before the record came out and like 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the record came out, just sitting there. No road scans, no road sales. And so we really just this time we wanted to see what we could actually do as a band and confidently just be like, let's count the pre-sales that we did by ourselves and let's just count store sales and see how strongly we could sell without lying like a bunch of little bitches about road scans. Bands like that are opening the door for bands like us hugely, like Lamb of God, SLIPKNOT. Like those bands are just paving the way for bands like us to have access to get up that high and shit. Like it's crazy. Metal is booming right now. It's awesome. Especially with how many younger kids are getting involved and then older metalheads coming back getting into younger bands. That's what's keeping the scene going and moving is these younger bands working their asses off.
And also the bands like MUDVAYNE taking us out on tour and like meeting people that are, you know, legit MUDVAYNE fans and
Black Label Society fans, like
we
dudes just like in fucking like leather jackets, like fuck yeah, brother. Like you're just like, holy shit, like that's the best kind of fan you can get, man. Like,
you are awesome.
You're like as old as my dad, and you're fucking scary. Like, let's go drink some beer. Actually, we put out the EP. That thing was recorded in a fucking garage. It's terrible. But we put out the EP, and then from that point, we just started touring on our own. I think we did like almost a year straight of touring around the U.S. And even we took ourselves overseas by ourselves, no label, just to see what we can do. You know, I did a headliner just on a shitty EP, and it went really well.
We basically headlined for a year.
Yeah, we headlined all over the United States, all over Canada, all over Europe by ourselves, no label. Then came back and started shopping around to labels. And labels were like, this label wanted us, that label wanted us. And after a lot of bickering, Century Media was definitely the best. And still, we still stand by it because this is our second record now. From 1 to 2, there's not been a complaint.
There was like a ton of pressure, I think, in the beginning.
The whole writing thing, we were scared. Like, oh, fuck. But at the same time, The Cleansing was done live, so it was really easy to follow up and just destroy that record. It's really smart of us to do it live. Now that we do this, that we did the second record in the studio, we're thinking about, dude, it's so easy to kill that first record because it was just done 1, 2, 3, 4, go in the studio. And being able to now go into a studio and take time and write songs and record them like super well with a crazy producer, definitely.
Yeah, we basically just took a lot more time on this, on No Time to Bleed. And I was nervous once we like initially going into the writing process, but once we started writing and then like
turning out songs.
Putting things together and like seeing how easy everything was coming together, it was just like, wow, we're actually putting something that's really good, and we were able to
really pre-production ourselves, because from the first record, we were broke asses. We didn't have shit going for us. No one had computers, no one had laptops, no one was able to
record. recording on a tape with a blanket over it, like with a little tape recorder with a blanket.
And I would get this tape after practice every day, take it home, and just be like, all I'd hear is punka 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 punka, just kick and snare, and like. So I would just write songs to like the structure of the drums almost, and like that's how a lot of The Cleansing was written. And then during the No Time to Bleed writing cycle, everyone had laptops then and ways to record like Pro Tools and shit like that. So
PreSonus interface, man, it did wonders for us.
I would get fucking CDs of like mixed down rough tracks that were like a full song. I would write to it, and then I would go to Alex's house and lay down pre-production vocals just in his room, screaming at the top of my lungs. His parents like eating dinner. Fuck. But it was cool, and then we'd have like these 5 songs pre-production sounding good, like better than our EP sounding. And we would just go on tour for like 2 months straight and just listen to those songs over and over and over and beat the shit out of them.
Show friends of ours and you know, hear what they think.
Critique them and figure out what we can do better, change to make that song a better song. Come home, change it, re-record it, record some more, go back on tour, sit there with 7 songs now and just let it sink in. Like we really like stressed ourselves out making this record awesome, but it paid off.
And I think it's a fucking badass record.
It's cool. That Machine is amazing.
He definitely made us feel, you know, a lot more professional than we did before, I think, too. Once we like got in there and heard what he had to say about us and about what we were doing, it was just like, you know, kind of boosted us up a little bit, made us feel like what we were doing was right, as opposed to some of the other, you know, media aspects of what we're doing says, you know.
Because
so.
we tried to think way outside of the box. Compared to the cleansing songs and the songs on this record, there's weird shit on this record that no one else does. Like, and that's why we're trying to capitalize on this being Suicide Silence's sound. So when all the other little bands rip us off like they did on the cleansing, people know 100%. Oh, they're just ripping off Suicide Silence still. Like
trying to staple our sound into this.
And I mean, because there's stuff on there that I would have never even thought about doing. But we're in the studio and we're stoned. Like, okay, that's cool. Like, yeah, that's fucking really cool. The record kind of has a big like, the record almost moves like a movie. Listen to it from beginning to end. It like has scary parts, like drops. We tried to make it as dynamic as possible with a lot of help from Machine. Seriously, on this record, like instead of trying to just be a dick and be blasphemous and piss people off, I was just like, you know what? I'm just over that. Like, you know, it's like people already know it. Like religion sucks and shit. Like I can't just keep singing about the same shit over and over. The song "Suffer" has a line that says, "A ruthless cleansing has already begun." That's basically the record. The cleansing's out, and it's already begun, and it's time to move on. And that's just me like accepting that. Like it's just me giving up on the whole like trying to just hate on everything all the time. And the record's seriously way more personal, way more just my mind spilled on paper. I sit there and like I think about weird shit, and I'm weird. I'm really different, and like just having thoughts that don't make sense to other people or stuff that no one else really thinks about. Then you read it like, oh, I start thinking about stuff you've never thought about before. It's kind of like what I really like to spread out now. And even if you interpret it differently and you hear the meaning from me, then keep that meaning to yourself because it means something to you, and that's all music is. If it means something to you, then it's real shit. No matter what it means, positive, negative, any type of emotion you feel, if you get that emotion from one of my songs and it's different from my actual meaning, then hold that because that means something to you. Let that song mean something to you. I have songs like that that's like, it means something completely different than what the song's fucking about to me. But that's what my brain latched on. What's my brain has like found positive in the song, and I think that's awesome when people do that.
People that write articles about people or review bands, and you know the media who listens to something and then has to put a staple on it because they don't really know how to describe it without coming up with something different, like nu metal or metalcore or whatever. You know, it combines different styles of music, but it's like deathcore is so narrow. It's just like death metal and core, like whatever, or hardcore. It's like, okay.
Honestly, heavy metal's been around since as long as, like, think of old Black Sabbath. That's heavy fucking metal, bottom line. And it's always going to be around because it's metal and it's heavy, and there's always been heavy metal bands. I like the term heavy metal because it's metal. Metal's the big, broad spectrum of music, and it's heavy. Play heavy riffs that you can fucking groove to. It's just heavy metal. It's so simple. Why can't heavy metal? What did that word like? Is it not cool anymore? Is it taboo? Because like, oh yeah, it doesn't have death in it. Death metal, deathcore. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, it's heavy metal.
Did SLIPKNOT and MUDVAYNE and Deftones and Korn want to be considered nu metal? No,
there were just younger bands in their generation coming out, being metal, heavy metal. They're new bands. Yeah, new metal.
I don't know. It's just like
at least it's kind of young metal. That would fucking
that would suck. That would really suck.
Oh, it's the young metal band.
It's just kind of like worrisome, thinking like, how long is deathcore going to be around? That's not like the term deathcore is not going to stick around forever.
What was before deathcore? There was
metalcore.
Metalcore. Like Jesus.
It's just like and the bands.
Endless this meat.
But then the bands that really were legitimate good bands stuck around and are still around. Unearthed, Darkest Hour, bands that are good and not just like latching on to something.
As Lay Dying,
Kill Switch, and they don't want to be considered metalcore. Us sitting here saying that they're metalcore, like that's not even cool. But they're just heavy metal bands.
Shit happens.
Yeah, this is exactly where it starts. So
having a daughter that completely separates my mind from crazy on tour shit to home and just being a fucking awesome dad. Something like that helps. So it grounded me. I don't know what the fuck I'd be doing right now if I didn't have her, because she definitely gives me 100% reason to wake up and a reason to do this, because if I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't be able to support her as I support her. And nothing's going to change. I mean, we're going to keep doing it as hard as we can. And I do it for her. I do everything for her. Like, my reason to get up in the morning is because of my beautiful daughter. Every time we put out a record, our goal's going to be to kill the previous record. Cleansing killed the EP. Time to Bleed killed fucking the Cleansing, and now the next record's going to kill it.
The next record's going to be absolutely us.